So good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for joining tonight's session. We have got a fantastic set of speakers tonight. I just wanted to do a few introductions and kick things off and then hand over to them as quickly as possible. My name is Julia Levy. I'm INSEAD 94 and I am moderating this evening's event. Really, it was catalyzed by the fact that this is a topic that I think is going to affect every single one of us, potentially personally. But also as a commercial situation, the silver economy is absolutely massive. We'll be hearing more from Eric about the potential of this. And therefore, from an INSEAD point of view, I think it's also very, very relevant in terms of business and entrepreneurial opportunities. We're all aware of the demographic shift and what that means in terms of the aging society. And it does present some opportunities as well as challenges, particularly in a world where, as for so many of us, we're dealing with people living remotely from their families. Local care is no longer possible in the same way as it used to be. So real time of change and transition, and it's all been massively accelerated by COVID. My experiences, I've been working in and around the aging space for over 20 years. So this is something that's been very strong personal, professional interest, but I also became a family carer for my mum last year, and that catalyzed my looking at it in terms of business, because I realized that it was a very complex area, one where there wasn't a huge amount of support and services in terms of helping people organize and navigate how to put care plans in place. And that's setting me up on the path of setting up my own business to help people navigate through that journey and working professionals in situations like the one I was in. So looking to where we go in terms of tonight's event, I'm really, really delighted to introduce two experts in this space. Eric Kihlstrom, I came across at an event on marketing to older people, which really shifted my thinking about the fact that we really need to rethink what that actually means in silver economy terms. We've spent most of our lives focusing on the younger demographic in terms of marketing, and it's cool and it's hip and it's sexy, but actually so much of the value is in where older people are and where you are engaged at that level. So I'm looking forward to his participation. He is chairman of Older, which is an agency that's specializing in marketing to the older generation. He's also been very hands-on in terms of his involvement with the Secretariat of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Longevity, and has helped launch the UK government's Industrial Strategy Challenge on healthy aging. Our other speaker is an INSEAD alum who is hands-on building a business in this space and going great guns in terms of progress. Gemma Bloemen is also an INSEAD from 2014. She's the Chief Operating Officer at elder.org, which is specializing in live-in care specialists. And she'll be telling you a lot more about her journey to helping build and develop that business. She has a background in consulting and has also lived in and around different countries around the world, so understands the international challenges all too personally. So before we get started with their sessions, I wanted just to get a little bit of a sense of you as an audience, and we've therefore got a couple of polling questions, which I'm going to get up on the screen now. The first one is just to get a sense of what this means for you personally, and what would be really helpful is if you can just go onto the poll and answer the question of, have you ever actually been a family carer? Is this something that you have experiences of, or is it something you think might happen going forward? Want to come sit next to me?
Yeah, but I also need to look after Tina.
Okay. Are you on mute? No. Everyone can see and hear me. Got my 12-year-old son sitting next to me. Okay, I'm going to call that to an end. I think most people have had a chance to vote now. All right, so let's end the poll and get the results up. So a third of you have been involved directly in caring, and fewer of you have actually done the hands-on part of being a carer. Again, more than 30 of you think this may be a reality for you in the future, and this echoes what I was saying. It does face many of us going forward, and there is a number who think that it's not likely to happen to you directly. So let me just put that up so you get a chance to see those results. So then the next question is more about it from a commercial point of view. So this is the second part of the discussion that we wanted to get up there. And just get a sense of this an area that you are involved in from a business perspective. So again, if you could just cast your votes. Okay, I'll call the poll to an end in a second. We've still got a couple of people voting. Okay, let's end the poll and I will share the results. So this is an area that interests a lot of you in terms of commercial potential. It's fantastic that a third of you nearly are already active in this space, and 2/3 are looking to explore it as a potential for future. So that's fantastic news, and therefore I think they will be very, very relevant. So before we get into the actual presentations, I want to just talk a little bit about the format. I'm going to take a leaf out of a book. Eric has been very proactive in organizing webinars and acting as a convener of people interested in the aging space. And there have been a series of weekly webinars that he's organized, which I would like to take a leaf out of. So whilst we as the speakers, the people you see in front of you, will have a chance to speak for about 10 minutes each, there's also the opportunity, you'll see at the bottom, the chat functions. I think we're all pretty used to using Zoom by now. But what I would love for you to do, those of you who are interested or those of you who are already active, if you could have a chance to introduce yourselves using the chat, and then keep an eye on that just in the background as we're all speaking, because I found it an amazingly effective way to network. I think it's safe to say that from every one of the events that Eric's hosted, I've made 2 or 3 really valuable connections, for which many thanks, Eric. And it's a great chance for us to do a little bit of offline networking in a time when we miss out on that face-to-face experience that we're also used to from INSEAD events. So please do introduce yourselves, say who you are, why you're interested in this event. If you're looking for anything or can offer anything in particular, please share that as well. So that's the chat function. The other thing, as you saw, we are really keen to make this as interactive as possible. So the actual formal presentation part will only be about 20 minutes. What we then want to do is give ourselves a good 20 odd minutes at the end for questions. So do feel free, use the Q&A button, and at any point you can ask the questions. What we will do is then, as soon as the presenters have finished, we will start going through those questions. I've also got a couple I received ahead of the event today, and we'll make sure we start with those and get those asked as well, to give you a chance to think of your questions and how you want to engage them from that point of view. So without further ado, I'm going to ask, I think, Eric to kick off and start our presentations. So Eric, over to you.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen now. So here it is. Share. And can you see my screen now? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about this. I think it's an important topic, and as Julia said, that it's a topic that affects everyone. Whether you have parents or pay taxes, this is an issue for you. And it sounds like a lot of you are either involved in it or interested in being involved in it. And I think what I'm going to do is share what are my experiences over the past 5-6 years in this particular space. And as Julia mentioned, the former director of the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund. Prior to that, I was an entrepreneur in this space. And what I've found is a few things that I'll share with you. But let's start with some questions first. One is, we're not the only ones looking at this. Amazon sees this as an opportunity. And if we don't grab this opportunity, others will, because there are lots of unmet needs that we need to be addressing. Just a quick poll now where I would like to ask people about their interest. So February 29th was an extra day. It was a leap year. This is a leap year, and it was an extra day. What was it, a normal day? Was it just like any other day? Let me know if it was normal, did something special, or don't remember. Right. So let's stop there. That's fine. I don't need to go into it. All I really want to do is make a point that that February 29th was extra time. It's the goal of the government here in the UK to make the best of the extra time that we have. The government here in the UK is 5 extra years. What if we didn't have just a day? What if we had 5 extra years? What would you do with the 5 extra years of healthy living? And that's really what we're talking about. You know, over the past century, we've created this gift of longer life, but we're not taking advantage of it. You know, we need to take advantage of the 30 extra years that we've been given of healthy life. Because we're not realizing the gift of modern medicine. This is a chart on the left that shows from 1841, when the average life expectancy was just over 40. I'm 55, so I'm glad I don't live 150 years ago, because I wouldn't be now. But today, the average life expectancy is in the 80s. And that's a phenomenal gift that we have. But you can see from this chart on the left that even in just the past decade, that we're living longer, but these yellow bars here are showing that we're living longer with increasing care needs. So we're living longer, but we're living longer in care, and we're not taking advantage. And if that's not enough, COVID-19 has accentuated these disparities. Everyone's seen the news. Everyone can see what's going on in care homes and older people at risk. So the idea is that the healthier you are, the more immunity that you have, whether it's normal day-to-day activity or the pandemic that we're in today. The question I have is another poll. Let's just very quickly throw this one out there. Oops, sorry. Launch poll. Is this blank canvas an opportunity? Is it emptiness, or it absolutely makes you feel neither positive nor negative? Okay, great. I'm going to end the poll there. That's fine. We get the gist. The idea here is that this blank space is essentially how people over 60 feel by advertising makes them feel. Oops, what's happening? Sharing results. Okay, stop sharing. What's happening here? The average consumer over 50 feels invisible to advertisers. Advertising just doesn't speak to the population in the UK that owns 77% of the UK wealth. 89% of people over 50 feel ignored by brands. And that's strange, because that's where they're driving 119 of 123 consumer categories. It's where the over 50s are buying 5 times the number of cars that the under 50s are buying. So as an opportunity, that white canvas is absolutely an opportunity, because right now nobody is talking to them in the right way for this particular reason. The good thing is that this is a problem that is recognized not just by us here, but the government has been looking at this for a long time. To be honest with you, I think some of it is that they're solving the wrong problems, but let's get back to that later. I think that back in 2015, you know, if you are looking at this space, or if you are already in this space. The future of the aging population is a really good source of all of the research that has been done. If you find this on the government website, you'll find a ton of research that underpins a lot of where the issues are and where the policy statements are. That led to the industrial strategy. The industrial strategy has 4 challenges. One of them is the Aging Society Grand Challenge. And that Aging Society Grand Challenge has 4 pillars. It's about purpose and legacy, health and care, homes and community, and financial well-being. Now, financial well-being is really about, pensions and saving enough. But what if they're not saving enough? How do we give them jobs or job security that they could then carry on past 60, 65 into later life, which is good for business anyways. There's lots of research that shows that age diverse management teams are more productive than not. Health and care is the obvious one. It's where everyone tends to go when we talk about age tech. We talk about care and tech for care. There's lots of good solutions, but our homes and communities are also where it affects our community. There's 1.4 billion pounds of NHS costs that's directly attributable to the homes and communities in which we live in. And that's a lot of what the All-Party Parliamentary Group is looking at. The industrial strategy is about the 55 to 85-year-olds. The APPG looks at a life course approach. We age from the time that we're born. How do we provide the best opportunity to age well at all stages? So there's Marmot, as a review that was done from the United Nations perspective, World Health Organization, and it talks about starting well, living well, aging well, and dying well. So there's something to be achieved, aspirations to have at all stages of our life. And it's valuable market. What we're talking about is a big market, $10 trillion by Mangrove. It drives 50% of consumer spending, 119 of 123 consumer packaged goods stores. So there's lots of economic benefit that is not just health and care, but it's everything that they spend their money on. So there's a big prize. The challenge is to really look at this in a way that is not stigmatizing. Our older population is different, just the way everyone else is different. When we think of something, there's a stereotype of the dear and daughtery, sort of old and hunched over with a cane and a wheelchair. But actually, there's 9 different segments that the Financial Conduct Authority has looked at. So all of this will be, I guess, be made available for people afterwards. But there's a huge amount to consider here. So when we talk about talking to people in the right way, the message has to be tailored in a way that's specific to the audience and where your customers are. And so there's an opportunity to do something that is counter to a lot of the way advertising and companies think today. And what I mean by deliberate mistakes is that a car company today will have advertising with a 35-year-old and it's advertising, and a 55-year-old is more than happy to buy a car from a company like that. But it's not the other way around. A 35-year-old is not interested in buying a car that has a 55-year-old and it's advertising. So how do we turn that around? And AT&T is an example of a company that has done something with what I call deliberate mistakes. And they essentially created a credit card that was targeted at a particular segment. It went against all lending criteria. They launched it anyways. And what they found is that it worked. So rather than go and do tons of research, they just went out and tried it, and it worked. And so with the older population, what we're saying is that try a deliberate mistake. Go and keep your existing advertising as it is, but allow us to work together to try and target the segment. The Facebook has 5 million users over 55 than there are under 55. So you know, there are digital solutions to target the right message to the right people, and so we just need to reframe the way that we look at this. There is such an opportunity to target this market, talk to the people about their aspirations, not their deficits. And that's what I mean by deliberate mistakes. So videos are a bit hard to play on online. So I think what we're going to do is share this video with afterwards. But this is a video that Nike ran that I would encourage people to look at. It talks about the prize. Why do we want 5 extra years of healthy, active living? It's to achieve our aspirations, and these are some of the dreams of our younger generation. So I strongly encourage you to look at the link that we send out afterwards, because it's not just extra time, it's extra time to achieve those things in our life that we've always wanted to do. I'll stop there and hand over, I guess, to oh, well, let me just mention Captain Tom, or now I guess it's it's not Admiral Tom, but this is what these are some of the things that we can do with our extra time. Julia, should I just hand over to Gemma now? Okay, Gemma, over to you.
Right, if you could stop, yeah, perfect. Hi everyone, thanks for attending this event. I thought I'd start with like a quick introduction on myself and also how I came to work in this industry, and then tell you a little bit about Elder, and also how we are navigating the current COVID crisis. So I'm INSEAD 14J. I went to INSEAD 6 years ago. Before that, I was one of those very typical McKinsey Amsterdam students, but I was atypical in the sense that I didn't go back to consulting afterwards. I went into startups and I joined what at the time was a very small or relatively small company called Uber, which my whole family thought was a taxi company, and was in the UK team for about 3.5 years, running a variety of different teams, learning a lot about scaling businesses, a lot as well about what not to do when scaling a company. But towards the end of my journey, I guess about 3 years ago, I started thinking about, you know, what else could I do? Uber was getting very big, and I wanted to move to a smaller company and do something a bit more meaningful. And actually, that's how Elder came on my path. I'd never heard of it. Elder at the time was very small. It had just raised a Series A, and the founders reached out to me, and we started talking in the summer of 2017. And I was immediately like really taken by the team, but also by the concept of enabling people to stay happy and independent in their own home. Because unbeknownst to the founders of Elder, actually, my family situation was very applicable to Elder, because my mom, who lives in the Netherlands, she's wheelchair bound and will at some point need full-time care, but she's also only 63, super active, still works, has an active social life, loves to go to museums, and loves living in her home, which is like perfectly made for her, has all her memories. So the concept of helping her stay in her own home and getting the care that she needs there, rather than having to move her into residential care, was something that really resonated with me. So I ended up joining Elder to lead its operations team 2.5 years ago. And at Elder, I manage currently so all our care functions, so recruitment of carers, the support for our carers, engagement, etc. Our matching marketplace balance team, so finding carers for our customers and the right carers. And I also manage our clinical team and strategic division. And I think for me, like, it has been like a really interesting journey. We raised a Series B last year. And in the time that I've been there, we've grown from about 20 people to now 90. So it's been like both a very interesting startup experience where I've learned a ton, but also in a field that I personally find really meaningful. And it gives me a lot of energy that I can, on a day-to-day basis, feel that I'm contributing something positive, especially in these challenging times. But yeah, I have a few slides on Elder, just to give you guys a little bit of context of what home care is and what Elder does in this space. So let me try to share. Okay, I think you should also be able to see this now. So basically, Elder's mission, as I kind of spoke to already, is to empower people to remain happy at home. So it's very well aligned with the whole government strategy at the moment of person-centered care, but really helping people for as long as possible to remain in their own home and live their life in the way that they want to live their life. So what we do is, so people stay in their own home. Normally they own their home, but they can also rent it. And we match them with a carer, sometimes 2 carers if the needs are high. And those carers live with the customer in a separate bedroom in the house, and take care of their care needs, which tend to be like on the lighter end for our service. So things like personal care, but also cooking, assisting with gardening and taking them to church, and all of these things that enable them to still live their life to the fullest extent that they can at their age. So it's also actually quite an affordable alternative, and this is often a surprise to people, as they think that it must be really expensive to get someone that lives with you. But actually, due to just the way that a lot of residential care is set up with, expensive property that you have to pay for, a lot of it is very highly leveraged, a lot of debt that needs to be paid off. Elderly care actually tends to be, or like one-on-one elderly care from Elder is about the same price as going into residential care, cheaper than going into residential care in South England, and also much cheaper than traditional agencies that have offered home care, I guess in a more traditional, less technology-enabled model in the past 20 years. We're also everywhere in the UK, and I think this is a huge advantage of home care, is that the carer can travel to come and live with you. So they can take, they can take the train, and they don't necessarily have to live around the corner. And as a result, we can service clients that live in very remote areas of the country, even areas where there isn't maybe a care home or a local agency. Let's see. Yeah, so just also a few notes on the benefits of living care. And I think for most people, this is quite intuitive. If you think about, what's commonly known around conditions like dementia, etc., it's very normal, people will generally tend to understand that once you have a cognitive impairment, being in your own familiar environment where you've lived your entire life, where you've formed memories, where you have routines, it's just a lot less disruptive than having to move to a new place, to a new home with new people, a routine that's not set by you. And also, if you ask people themselves, they actually really prefer to stay in their own home. But the health outcomes are actually also better. So there's a reduction in likelihood of fracturing your hip, that people are less likely to fall, and there's a reduction in UTIs. Overall, mental health is better, and that probably supports the other areas as well. And then, of course, you can continue your own routines. Like I mentioned, you can go to church, you can see friends, etc. If that's what you still want to do. Or maybe it's just once a day, you like to sit in the garden and, look at the flowers and look at the birds, and that in itself can be a great pleasure when you're 90 and you've lived a full life. So yeah, just a little bit about Elder in itself. So we have served about 2,500 clients in the past 4 years since we started. We've provided over 400,000 days of care, and we've raised £16.5 million of capital. And this is an interesting piece as well that I won't go into too much right now, but it's definitely Elder or age tech and the silver economy is not the hottest type of VC investment at the moment. So it wasn't the easiest journey for us to raise this capital, but in the end we found a number of investors that have been really supportive, really understand like the opportunities in the space, the innovation that Elder brings, and the potential of really innovating in elderly care on a larger scale. And then we've won a number of prizes and such that I'm not going to go into at the moment. But just a little bit to explain also how we work. So I mentioned already that we cover all of the UK. We have also carers all over the UK. So we recruit carers in different areas, which allows us to cover most places in the UK. And that also means that we are all able to get a care to a client really quickly. So on average, we can match a care that can fulfill like the clinical needs of a customer within 24 hours. And that makes a really big difference for things like hospital discharge, or imagine somebody is caring themselves for their family member and they fall ill. Or if one of our carers falls ill, we are able to get someone in really quickly to replace them. And then a little bit about the technology. So the reason we're able to do this, both in a way that gives peace of mind to our clients and our carers, but also in a cost-effective, efficient way, is because we build all our technology ourselves. So we've had our own development team from the start. We invest a lot in building our own products. So both the clients and the family have an app and a portal where they can choose carers that are coming. They can see like details of them, other types of content that we generate for them. The carers have their own hub where they can select placements and read through like the care needs of their clients, like see things around travel and such, and also have their like support channels. And then we have our own back system, which is basically like a proprietary scheduling system that enables us to match of the thousands of carers we have with like the right care at the right time with the right, or with the client that is in need of care at the moment. And also track like all the interactions that are happening on that account and such, so that we have like really good records of things that happen. So this is kind of what I spoke to, but basically the Elder system enables us to like really match not just on clinical needs, but also on, what type of placement does this carer like? Do they like to be in a placement where there is pets? Do they want to be like in a more urban environment? And for the client as well, like what type of care are they looking for? Are they looking for somebody that has like a longer, like more experience in care? Are they like what type of personality are they looking for? We provide videos of all the carers so that they can really get to know them before they meet them in their home. And then as a result, I think we've actually, most of our carers and our customers are very happy with the service provided. So our carers on average are rated by our customers of 4.4. All customers do a survey of the carers every few weeks so that we know if the match is going well, if the placement is going well. We also check in with our carers on that. Our NPS is 65 for customers, and I think 50 for carers, which is unheard of in the care sector, and also very much driven, I think, by the person-to-person support that we provide. And here are some testimonials, which I won't go into now. But yeah, this just gives a little bit of an idea of kind of what Elder does and what it is, I guess, in normal times. And then I thought it would be helpful to just share like 1 minute on how we've adapted to COVID, which obviously has tremendous impact on both our clients and our carers. So luckily we were pretty well prepared, I guess, when the virus hit the UK, just because we had seen it coming internationally. And we some of the things that we did were, for instance, we asked a lot of our carers who were on placements at that time to isolate together with their CR, so that and to stay for longer periods of time rather than take their normal holiday breaks, which meant that that actually the amount of exposure or potential exposure to the virus for our clients was really low because they were not going out, no one else was coming in. We obviously asked all our families, even though we can't mandate, but we asked all of them not to visit anymore, to work with the care for technological ways of connecting with the family. And we kept them like very much updated on like government guidance and how that was changing. We helped our carers get tests. We encouraged them to self-isolate before they went to placements. We helped them get like proof of key worker status and all of those measures. And actually as a result, so far, knock on wood, we've been like remarkably unaffected by the virus. So less than 1% of our clients has passed away from COVID, and the handful that did actually contracted it while they were in hospitals because our clients tend to be quite vulnerable, so they do tend to have to go to the hospital more frequently than people in our age group do. But from that, actually, it's something that we are really, really grateful for our carers that during this time period, they've really been able to safeguard the clients to the extent that, they've been able to be in their own home, safe, like a lot of us have, not have to go out to do any grocery shopping and such, and thus have been, spared from the effects of the virus that we've seen in a lot of care home settings across the UK at this point. We're also working actively with local authorities and other partners to help people when they're discharged to go into home care rather than into a residential setting at the moment, because a lot of care homes are actually not accepting new patients as well, private care homes, because they might have an outbreak and such, and obviously need to manage that. We've been actively providing PPE for our carers, which normally, due to our regulatory status and their status as self-employed carers is something that they source themselves, but normally it's, as most of you working in social care know, is very ubiquitously available. Right now, that's not the case, so we have helped source PPE for all our clients and distributed that across the UK. And I think for us, like in this time period, it's really, we're trying to do as much as we can to make sure that both our carers and our clients are safe in the homes together. So together we're trying to weather this storm, which I guess has affected everyone in this industry even more than outside in our lives already. Yeah, I guess I'll stop there. And if there's any questions, either to my piece or also to Eric's or Julia's earlier, please start sharing them in the chat. We can look to answer them. I think there's a few.
Yeah, we've got already 9 questions in the Q&A, and what I was going to suggest is, Gemma, there's quite a few there which are very specifically around the elder model. So what I was going to suggest was give you a chance just to look at those questions, so you've got a chance to perhaps consolidate some of the answers, and then perhaps start with Eric with some of the slightly more big picture questions to kick us off, if that's okay.